I know it's an unpopular opinion, but hear me out on this one. Our society would benefit enormously from bringing back child labor. If you don't know what that is, during the Industrial Revolution, many manual labor jobs were replaced by machines. Those jobs didn't require heavy lifting, and the machines were simple enough to operate even by children. Children typically were cheaper to hire, so doing so became common practice. Now, due to some constitutional thing, child labor was outlawed in the 1930s, and I think this is what really started America on its downward spiral. It became cheaper for companies to manufacture their products in other countries where child labor was still cheap and legal, which is what we still do today. If we were to bring child labor back to the United States, companies would be able to afford making things here instead. Why should Chinese children be profiting off of us when we could just hire American children to do the same thing? Not only would it give them jobs, but it would lower prices of various goods for us and increase our nation's GDP. About 23% of the population of the US is under 18. That's a huge untapped workforce. People raise the argument, what about school? Well, we already know our education system is broken. 37% of Americans are functionally illiterate, so why even bother wasting 12 years of people's lives? Instead, get them started working early. By the time they're adults, they'll be masters in their craft. Not only will the nation save millions on education, but the government will be actually making money through taxes. President Trump talks about bringing industry back to America, and I think legalizing child labor would be a huge step in that direction. We could incentivize companies to hire American children by price matching what they pay kids overseas. 9 is half of 18, so if 18-year-olds are making minimum wage, we could just pay 9-year-olds half. 4 to 5-year-olds would be making a quarter of minimum wage. I'm not exactly sure how all the math works out. We might need to go a little bit lower than that to price match, but they're kids. They don't know the value of money. We could also come at this from the perspective that it would lower crime, specifically gang activity. It's estimated that about 2% of kids nationwide, that's about 1.5 million kids, are involved with gangs. If we could employ those kids instead, we could reduce those numbers significantly. I think this would be especially effective because a lot of those kids join gangs out of necessity. They come from poor families. So if we give them jobs, not only does it give them something to do, but it also increases household income. I think the real crime here is that poor kids aren't allowed to work, to be honest. A third way to think about this is the effects it would have on unemployment. If we took the initiative to employ the 23% of the nation under 18, that unemployment percentage would be significantly lower, just due to the sheer amount of people who do have jobs by comparison. Now, there has been some concern over the safety of the children. Back in the Industrial Revolution, there was an issue where kids were often hired to clean or repair large machines because they were the only people small enough to fit inside them. This led to numerous kids getting mauled by the machines. It wasn't entirely uncommon for them to lose limbs. This is a legitimate concern because on top of just working in factories, kids are useful for cleaning out ventilation shafts and things of that nature. And it's understandable that there are some safety concerns. But technology has advanced quite a bit since then, at least in the US. Robotic prosthetics are becoming more and more advanced as well as affordable. It won't be long until robotic prosthetics are seen as better than the limbs you were born with. In the near future, it won't be uncommon to see people having limbs removed purposefully in order to benefit from the advantages robotic prosthetics can give. I think it's fairly safe to say that kids love robot limbs. Full Metal Alchemist, for example, is one of the top-rated anime of all time, and one of the main quirks from that universe that people like is the automail. Ask any kid if he would like to have an automail arm, and I'm sure he would tell you yes. It just seems like common sense to me. In closing, the reasons to bring back child labor are pretty compelling. I think it should really be taken into consideration. Plenty of countries are doing it and it's working great for them. I think it's time that America steps up. I've gone ahead and created a change.org petition. Maybe if we can get 100,000 signatures, we can bring it to President Trump's attention. I feel like he's the right person for this, someone who I know would really listen to it, and that's why I support him. And if you want to support me in what I do, I have a Patreon. For $5, you get access to my Discord, which is not a cult. If you've heard that, it's not true. It's just a perfectly healthy, philosophical, and spiritual movement. Anyway, thanks for watching.